the most inefficient thing you can do is make an unnecessary process efficient. Hi, and welcome to Helping You Perform. I'm your host, Paul Teasdale. Over a career working with high-performing teams from across the globe, including 7 years working with Formula One team McLaren, I've learned a lot about what it takes to drive results. In this weekly podcast series, I'm going to be bringing you tips, tricks, and insights from the world of Formula One that you can apply to your organisation for your high performance. Enjoy. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Helping You Perform, where I'm bringing my tips, tricks, insights and stories from the world of F1 and other high performing teams and helping you to accelerate your own performance. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode, which is all about reflection. So if you haven't had the chance, go back, listen to that episode and take some time to reflect on the thing that you're working on right now. This week, I wanted to share a story that I was talking to somebody about the other day that involves my early time at McLaren. Partly when I first joined the organisation, and then after about 6 months, started to recognise the value that I was bringing. And this is all about what value are you bringing, and are you working on the right things? Because what I found in the time with McLaren, the team that I was part of had some amazing data scientists, modelers, simulators, people who could do things and build models and this amazing software to help with decision support that was way above my head. They were doing the coding, they were doing the thinking, they understood the physics and the maths behind the problems, and were able to put that into something that people could then interact with to help them answer some of the questions that they might have. And what I found was these people who are at the top of their game, and you need those people at the top of the game in order to get to that level, loved working on the interesting problems and the challenging problems and the things that were there that took a bit of time to think about. The puzzle solvers at heart. Now, this is great because it means that when you put those problems in front of those people, they're able to go at it, pick it apart, and come up with some amazing solutions. The issue was, oftentimes, what they were focused on are the interesting problems, not the valuable problems. And my job, a big part of my role when I was working with clients, was to understand what are the problems that you've got that if we solve them or help you to solve them, that would add the most value. And sometimes those can be relatively boring problems. You know, it doesn't have to be the most interesting data analytics, the most interesting sort of modeling and simulation build, the complex physics around what's going on. Sometimes it can just be a boring business problem, but if we solve that, it would give you some amazing value. So I was there to balance that team out. And I actually remember saying when I first joined McLaren, I was in the interview process, you've got some amazingly clever people here. You now need me to balance this out. Now, whilst I was being a bit self-deprecating, what I mean is when you've got amazingly talented people who are specialists in their field, they're brilliant at solving the problems and doing the things that are put in front of them. Someone has to be there to make sure that the problems you're focusing them on are the right problems. So this is the difference between doing things right, as in solving the problems in the right and the sort of fundamental way, and doing the right things. So are you pointing people at the right problems? And interestingly, when I step away from McLaren and start to talk about the businesses that I've worked with over the years and work with now, I see this as well. It's not necessarily to the same specialist extent where you're talking about these really high class data scientists, for instance, but they're specialists in their own right. It might be someone who is a specialist in blending a certain product together to give you the product that you then go off to bottle and sell on. It might be somebody who is a specialist in the processes around your accountancy, around the sale of your product, whatever that might be, but they're in a specialist role. And they're really, really good at solving the problems and doing the things that you put in front of them. Now, as a leader, now it doesn't matter, we've talked about this in the past, you know, you don't have to have a manager role to be a leader, But as a leader, your challenge is to make sure that those specialist people are doing the right things, not necessarily just focusing on doing things right. And I found in my personal experience that if you leave people to their own devices too much, they can get distracted by the shiny things, and they can get distracted by the interesting problems. And you've just got to be there to balance that out, to say, I know those problems are interesting, but are they the right problems to solve right now? So that's what I want to think about and get you to think about today, really, is are you helping your organization? Are you helping yourself if you're a solopreneur or someone who's just in a small team or a small organization? Are you helping by making sure that the problems you're focusing on are the right problems to solve? Not just head down and let's solve this problem in the right way. So remember, look to do the right things before you do things right. And that will sort of leave you in really good stead in order to make sure that when you do solve the problems, even if you do them not quite to 100%, you solve that problem and maybe you do an 80, 90% job because of the resources or the capabilities you have, at least you're solving the right problem. And I love the quote, and I think it comes from Toyota or the Toyota production system in those days, is the most inefficient thing you can do is make an unnecessary process efficient. So what that means is if you've got people focusing on being as good as they possibly can be on a process that ultimately you don't really need and you could design out, then that is a whole big waste of energy, time, and resource. So have a think about that for yourself. If you want to talk about any of this, you want me to sort of bounce some ideas off you, you want to hear some more of my stories, or you just want to connect, as always, go to paulteasdale.co.uk, click on that button for a free 30-minute chat, and we'll see where it takes us. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Helping You Perform podcast. If you found value in this episode, please take a moment to like, share, or review the podcast. You can reach out to me at any time, either through LinkedIn or through my website at www.paulteasdale.co.uk. I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode.